Welcome back, my friend. This is Mr. Allen in the world of toys with a brand new episode to talk about something special because everybody loves Masters of the Universe, and this year is the 4th year anniversary. And today come back in my show an amazing artist that worked many times with MOTU brand, MOTU franchise. And his name is Eamon O'Donoghue. Eamon, welcome back to the show.
Hey, how you doing? How's it going? How's it going, Alan? Are you all right? This is your interview for today now. This is the person you're interviewing. It's not my face. This is
you are a really good sword. I think you're a really good sword.
I love this figure. I love this guy. This guy is the coolest. Love this guy. Have you got him yet?
Also your T-shirt too, because there is another franchise inspiration in your T-shirt. Remember me, Back to the Future. So.
Yeah. I had a Star Wars one on, but I got 30, so there you go.
If you have the chance, just to speak in something really fun, if you have the chance to have a Back to the Future mobile, to back to your past, which time of your past you choose?
I mean, it's got to be like 1984. I think for most folks, it's 1984, right? That's the year that I think He-Man really came to Ireland growing up. And it was like a big deal, I remember, because I was in the Cub Scouts. I was safe, it was fine. I was in the Cub Scouts, and I remember everyone telling me He-Man is going to be on television. And it wasn't on like a children's slot or anything like that. It was on literally at 5:30 on a Saturday evening before the 6 o'clock news. So we're talking a prime time slot. And I remember purposefully getting myself kicked out of Cub Scouts so I could go home early and watch the very first episode of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And I remember I missed the first couple of seconds of the intro where he walks in and stuff like that. It was just that transformation sequence where I walked in. I remember hitting record straight away. And I don't know. I think that was, I could look back at my childhood. I think that was probably the happiest time. I was about 8 or 9. So, yeah, I think I'll probably travel back to then because also that year you had Terminator. The Terminator movie was out. So 1984 was a good year, I think. Growing up in Ireland.
Yes, especially because in the 80s, many good franchise shows start then in the 80s. The 80s is the golden era of the show for MOTU, but also many other lines. But back to the first episode. When you watched the first episode, what is the character that blew your mind at that time that you said at the time, this is my guy in the show?
I wasn't. You see, I was one of those kids that discovered He-Man on the shelf, not on the TV screen. So I'd first seen. Actually, it was my cousin. And growing up in Ireland, you know, you've got Northern Ireland now, and back then, you know, basically Northern Ireland was like England, and England tended to get things like first, and then Ireland would get them. So like He-Man broadcast in England in 1983. Whereas He-Man's first broadcast in Ireland was 1984. So we tended to get things a little later. So I had never seen the cartoon. My first step into He-Man was, well, first of all, it was the movie The Beastmaster. I'd seen the movie The Beastmaster, and I just fell in love with that thing. Just dudes with swords running around with a big tiger and hawks and stuff. I was like, great, this is awesome. I didn't know why. I just loved it. It was seeing that and the Meatloaf album covers, especially Bad Out of Hell and Dead Ringer for Love, which is a single that album. But I saw these things. So basically we're seeing muscular, half-naked blonde dudes was really creeping into my my psyche and stuff. And then a friend of mine showed me the very first Masters of the Universe annual, you know, with the actual figures on the front and stuff like that, and all the, when Orko was called Gorpo still. That, and I'd seen it, and I saw the figures on the front, and I was like, it just blew me away. And then for my, I was 9. My aunt, who hadn't seen in years, gave me £20. And getting £20 as an 8 or 9-year-old kid was a big deal. Anyway, with that £20, I bought a He-Man figure and an Action Force / G.I. Joe figure. And that was it, really. And I didn't get my second He-Man figures until about my birthday, 2 or 3 months later. So I literally had just this one He-Man figure for about 3 months. And I used to put him in a old steel roller skate, so it was like a vehicle. And, oh yeah. He suffered through a lot of injuries and stuff like that. But I think those are my happiest memories, just me and that one He-Man figure.
There is a nice question for a fan. Who was your favorite character to draw?
I did draw He-Man quite a lot, but I think Teela was probably the one I gravitated towards the most. Even as a young kid, I tended to draw Teela quite a lot. I just really liked her as a character, you know. And I think He-Man, Fisto, I quite like Fisto a lot. And Rio Blast, oddly enough, I liked Rio Blast as well. Mechanik. That was the big one. That was my favorite.
Another cool character.
Yeah.
I think speaking of MOTU in general, I think there are two things that are really cool in this franchise, in this brand. And speaking of also the Filmation, because I'm a big fan of Filmation, one is the storyline, the storytelling, the mix the sci-fi with fantasy, and each character, including the background character, like Mechanek is not a main character or other like that. They have a good gimmick, good character, good, interesting personality. So I like these two part of MOTU. The storyline, the storytelling, but also every character, including the background character, have a personality really well done. What do you think about it?
All that's, I was cool with it, but before the cartoon kind of came along, you see, I kind of invented my own stories, and or rather, what we used to look in the mini comics were like the Bible. That was how you viewed Masters of the Universe, and I think for a lot of fans out there, how you view the characters and indeed the story really depends on whether you're a Filmation kid or a mini comics kid. And I know there's even older school guys, like my friend Matt O'Toole. He likes the very early mini comics He-Man, where there wasn't even a Prince Adam. I prefer the Prince Adam angle, to be honest, but some of my friends who are on the same age as me, guys in our late 40s now. They tend to like the barbarian from the jungle He-Man and stuff like that. But what I liked about the He-Man story was that they set a few ground rules in, and the story kind of nicely evolved over the years. I think Filmation really brought a lot of charm and kind of wit to the story, and I thought what Filmation brought separated it from Conan quite substantially. They were dipping their toe far more into the superhero Shazam camp, and maybe for some that maybe went a bit too far over to that side, but I thought Filmation came close, to be honest, especially some of the earlier Filmation episodes and some of the other choice episodes that come later on. I like the storytelling of it and things like that. I just think a guy, a spoiled prince and his pet tiger, I think it's a very cool idea. Simple, and that was there from the very inception. Well, from the DC Comics angle anyway. That was the first time we saw Prince Adam, wasn't it? In the DC triple, the miniseries, the DC miniseries had 3 issues, wasn't it? And that was the first time we saw Prince Adam, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure, but I think at that stage then they were already in discussions with Filmation. I think some of the ideas from Filmation were creeping into the story and stuff like that. It's just, it evolves quite a lot over the stories and things like that. Even in the Filmation show, some characters are changed slightly over the thingies and stuff like that. So
I like Filmation in general. Also the other show, for example, I'm a big fan of Brave Star, She-Ra, but as Ghostbuster Filmation as well, because they continue this philosophy to give many characters, but also a good character that maybe appears just in 1 or 2 episodes. But I like how they treat the character in general. What do you think about the other show of Filmations?
Well, I'm a big Brave Star fan. You're probably looking at the world's biggest Brave Star fan here. I have every Brave Star figure with boxes. Oh yeah, I love Brave Star. I think Brave Star, the motion picture, is it's animation glory. If you're into your 2D animation, I think if you're a student of 2D animation, you need to watch Brave Star the movie. That thing is beautiful. That thing is beautiful. And it's just, I think Brave Stars is one of those really crying shames of the things where I think my always issue with Filmation was that they took we're going to teach kids good morals just a little too far. I'm all down for that. I understand why they did that. But in a lot of in my opinion, a lot of adventure story came at the cost of telling a moral. And I do think there was I do think they were just a little bit too far. And I think Brave Star suffered from that a little bit. I think Brave Star went a bit too literal with the yeehaw. It was a little too literal. I mean, you could have just reined back the world tarnation. Just rein that back a little bit. They're in space. They're not in, Arkansas or Kansas, they're in outer space. And I just think while I love Lou Scheimer and what he did, I do think he slightly campified too many things on occasion. But the animation was through the roof. You could see the love and the craft in it and stuff like that. I love the Filmation Brave Star show. She-Ra, I liked watching She-Ra because it just had better animation. A lot of the episodes, to be honest with She-Ra, I couldn't quite stomach. They were just a bit too twee for me personally. I don't know if you know maybe by that term twee, a bit too kind of sweet and sugary and Care Bearsy and things like that. But I loved watching the animation in She-Ra, and you'd watch any episode of She-Ra that had involved He-Man, where I always kind of liked, because it was She-Ra show, that He-Man kind of slightly took a backseat, and I quite liked that. And what's the one where He-Man attacks where the He-Man is holding up a mountain and the village is attacked, isn't it? There's a village attacked and She-Ra's got to go off. He-Man's got to protect the villagers from the Horde, the entire Horde army. And he's stood there. He's after being shot. He-Man got shot in this episode. And it's like, if you could do that in one episode, if you could actually have He-Man getting shot and injured and being in peril for one episode, why didn't you do that in many more episodes? So it's not like they couldn't do more dramatic storytelling in He-Man or She-Ra, or indeed Brave Star. They just kind of chose not to. And it slightly irritates me because I think what was happening back in the 80s, I basically think Filmation were getting outgunned. The cheaper animation was being farmed out to China and Japan and stuff. Thundercats, Mask, G.I. Joe, Transformers, all these, they were farmed away out there. He-Man, Brave Star, they were the only ones still made all in America. And the quality is there, even in the animation cells. I have He-Man animation cells, and I have Ghostbusters animation cells. And I can tell you which is going to crumble first. It's not going to be the He-Man cells. One of the reasons why He-Man was one of the reasons what happened to Filmation, because it was expensive to animate in America, but whatever happened to a bit of American pride there, really, that's famous American pride. They should have really kept that going. But back to my point, I think like G.I. Joe and Transformers and Ghostbusters, Mask, Thundercats, were by their second seasons being a little bit more harder with their storytelling. They were telling slightly, not mad serious, but more serious storytelling. And Filmation just didn't do that often enough. And I do feel that Filmation didn't quite, they should have upped their game a little bit. Not the animation, because they did up their animation. You can tell that between He-Man season 1 and 2, and you can tell that looking at seasons of She-Ra, and then their final project, Brave Star. You can see how much they upgraded their animation, put more effort into things, but it was their storytelling, I think, wasn't commanding enough. Their storytelling was too childish, for want of a better word, I think, on occasion. And it just annoyed me when you'd see, there are some great episodes of Brave Star. It's like, well, why didn't you do that? Oh, we'll do a big drug episode, and it's really heavy, serious. Okay, so why did you make everything else so childish? Then if you're going to go really serious here, how about a middle ground? A little bit serious, a little bit childish. I don't know, it's just, and I felt the same way with He-Man as well. Look at the episode, Problem with Power, and Disappearing Dragons. Those are great episodes with kind of high stakes in them. And we love these episodes now still. Those would still be considered decent enough television to watch. And in my opinion, those best episodes of He-Man are still better than the best episodes of G.I. Joe or Thundercats. The best episode of He-Man is Problem of Power. That still ranks, in my opinion, a far more watchable thing to watch than Thundercats which is no disparaging. I love me Thundercats, G.I. Joe. I love them all. But if I'm picking what I think is higher quality and what ages better. I do think these better episodes of He-Man age better than any other 80s show of its kind out there. But the worst of He-Man is appalling, and the worst of She-Ra is almost unwatchable. So that it's and I can do anything. Did I answer that question there? I hope I did.
Yes. Speaking of Braystar, I know that the bad guy Tex-Ex was scheduled for the Filmation Ghostbusters series, but I know because I did an interview with Rob Lamb of Filmation, they work with Filmation, and he told me that the series of Filmation Ghostbusters ended before, and this character of Tex-Ex still without a story, without a series. But Lou Scheimer was fascinated about Tex-Ex, so he decided to create a Braystar because he loves so much the character of Tex-Ex. You know that.
I think the characters of Bravestar. I think Bravestar was a wonderful inception. Space Cowboys. Why haven't we done that before? Oh yeah, that's right. They did it with the Firefly, didn't they? The space subtaser. But if you want to go back to real Space Cowboys, you go Bravestar, not Galaxy Rangers. No, the Galaxy Rangers. I'm going to get hit me for saying that. Bravestar. Oh, and I just think Braves. I have Andy Mangle's Filmation book, and I've yet to actually read the whole Bravestar sequence there, and actually what happened when L'Oreal bought her up and things like that. But from what I understand, I do think Bravestar was kind of like the nail on the coffin for Filmation, that it cost so much and they got so much little return, and Mattel kind of jumped the game a little bit by releasing the figures ahead of the cartoon, yada, yada, yada. These big figures were hitting the shelves. No one had an idea what they were. But it's like, that didn't matter to me. I saw these action figures. I saw the Bravestar action figures, again, like He-Man, before I saw the cartoon. And I saw these amazing looking cowboy space figures, and I was like, yeah, give me some of that. They're cool. The designs of Bravestar are just cool. It's right for a relaunch, that thing. And a cool movie or a TV series.
And speaking of your career with MOTU, Master of the Universe, what is the first artwork that you did professional for Master of the Universe franchise?
The very first thing I ever did was a DVD sleeve. Actually, the world's first DVD, official DVD of He-Man and Master of the Universe. There you go. I can make claims that it's the world's first. It's awful artwork now by comparison to my later stuff, but it was my first professional job as a freelance illustrator. It was actually my very first professional job as a freelance illustrator. I'd been designing club flyers up to that point, kind of thing, and doing the odd book cover here and there, but my first professional big illustration, pen to paper, drawing job was He-Man and the Master of the Universe DVD Volume 1, released by Contender Entertainment. They're gone now. But these are also the DVDs that James Eatock worked on, of course. And he did a lot of the voice commentaries and all that stuff, and they're still great DVD sets to this day. You know, those commentaries are really great. You know, and Dave Angle is the other guy who did it with both the voice commentaries over. So yeah, and I did about 10 of those, 10 He-Man DVDs, and it's really, really what started my career, to be honest. And I never looked back. I've been, touch wood, sort of been, you know, I like all freelance artwork. It's up and down and stuff like that. I'll take this off. Yeah, first job ever was He-Man and Master of the Universe, Volume 1 for Contender Entertainment in the UK, the world's first He-Man DVD release. And yeah, and I just did loads, and don't look for them now. They're awful covers. If anyone, Eamon's artwork is shit. Well, yeah, it was shit back then. But, you know, it was my first job. I was in my 20s.
Cool. So cool. Everything started with that, so for you.
Yeah. Everything starts with He-Man. And He-Man's responsible for everything now, man. You know, I was a kid. I saw He-Man artwork. I wanted to become an artist. First job I got as an artist was He-Man artwork. Right now, I'm stressed out and tired because of He-Man artwork.
There's a question for you by a fan. Is there any way we can buy your prints?
No, unless Mattel decide to ever release the artwork officially and stuff like that, then I'm afraid not. No, I know. I don't think any of us, neither myself Axel or Nate can ever really sell any of that art, unfortunately. We could do our own art, you know, and sell a few prints of those, but we can't sell stuff that was anything on any boxes or anything like that. Sorry.
And I want to talk with you about 1987 because, yes, it was something that someone don't like, someone love that. I did 2 interviews on this channel with William Stout to talk a lot about that movie.
Oh, Bill Stout's the man. What a gentleman he is.
He's super cool, William Stout. He has many interesting backstory about many character in the Hollywood land, including, he told me, for example, a very cool story about David Lynch. So cool. So he meets many interesting characters. He's a very interesting artist with many interesting stories.
Bill is a storyteller. I have gotten, you know, I've been out with that man socializing a couple of times now, William Stout. And yeah, he's got some stories. Yeah, that he's a man with some stories. And he doesn't pull his punches either. He's one of the finest artists of the last 50 odd years. He's amazing. He's an amazing illustrator. And he's ever so nice as well about, I mean, my first encounter with Bill Stout was like randomly emailed him like about 20 years ago, just asked him, how did you do this? And he wrote me a big long email about how to draw certain ways and stuff like that. It was great.
He's a super cool man and super cool artist. But what do you think about the movie?
The Master Universe 1987 motion picture is I've kind of, as a kid, I was like, what the hell is that? That's not He-Man. That's not Orko. What the hell is this? But you went to see it in the cinema, and you were just delighted that there was a character called He-Man on the TV screen. You know, you were delighted that there was, oh my God, the characters that I like are being made into stuff. Because, you know, Spider-Man and all these other characters weren't being made into movies. No, He-Man was. I'm like, wow, crikey, He-Man's getting the first big screen thingy. So as a kid, I kind of had even as a child, I had very mixed feelings of it. I appreciated the movie, but I didn't appreciate the creative decisions in the movie, i.e. why you would bother to change the characters that dramatically, and why Mattel allowed them to change the character so look so dramatically. I have no clue. Why would you give He-Man a cape? I have no idea. Why would you give He-Man shoulder pads? But they did. However, as its own version of Masters of the Universe, I think for a lot of kids is like you kind of blew your opportunity. When you're a child, you want everyone to love what you love. It's like, look at this thing that I love. You should love it too. And then He-Man comes out, and you'd think like, oh, they're making a He-Man movie, and it's like, okay, but who's the movie aimed at? Is it aimed at adults who might want a sword and sorcery movie? No, it's aimed at the kids who have these on their shelves. You know, it's aimed at the kids who've got these on their shelves. Why on earth you would change things so dramatically? I have no clue. It made no sense to me at all. And it used to even annoy me looking at the sticker album of the Maximus motion picture, because the big poster in the sticker album, there's Dolph Lundgren in an old school He-Man harness. And I'm like, why did you change the outfit? Now, those designs and all the designs for the movie I've actually grown to love over the years. And there's a big part of me that actually really now loves the design and the feel of the Master Universe movie. And in my brain, what I would love to happen sometime is somebody work with Gary Goodhart if they want to, and try and work out what the movie would have been had the gangsters of Menahem Globus and whatever his name was, the 2 gangsters from Cannon, had not done a legger with some cash. You know? Because remember, that's what happened. Master Universe was budgeted for X amount of money. They only got half of it because Cannon decided to do a legger on Master Universe and Superman 4. So you look at the volume of the artwork that was produced for Masters of the Universe, and you start to realize, oh, now I know why it feels like half of a movie. That it literally has so much, because it's a weird one, isn't it? The costumes are really well made. Everything's really well crafted. You can see that they got the Star Wars people in. You can see that they got the special effects guys, Poltergeist in. You can see that they've got, you know, not like TV crap actors, but they've gotten decent actors in. all the actors in Master Universe movie, they're all good actors. They're not like, they're not like some of the other movies, where it's like we're going to get really terrible actors. And, Dolph Lundgren had a lot of good people around him to support him. And it's a funny one. I look back at it now, and I went to see the movie in a theater very recently, about 2-3 years ago, with a bunch of other people. We did a whole thing, and it was. I've reassessed the movie again, and it is a warm and wonderful, charming little movie. And when you actually look back and know what actually happened, it is a miracle that Goddard made anything remotely coherent at all. It really is, because it's like, they pulled the lights on him filming the final sequence, literally. And it is a fascinating Hollywood story, I think, because you see the volume of amazing artwork produced for this movie, and I mean lots. You had Ralph McQuarrie, Claudio Mazzoli, Bill Stout, and David Negron. They're 4 top amazing artists, some of them from Italy, some of them from Spain, some of them from America, in the form of Stout. And all these, Ralph McQuarrie, ladies and gentlemen, Ralph, I invented Star Wars, McQuarrie, designed stuff for Masters of the Universe. It was going to be big. It was designed to be a contender to Star Wars. And I think had it had gotten enough of the money, had it had gotten the realization, had it indeed had the stop-motion Battle Cat like they wanted, had they indeed had the floating Oracle like they wanted, and gotten that budget, it would have been, I do think you would have had a contender to Star Wars, and I think the landscape for Master Universe would have been a far different affair. I'd love to go back in time and slap the executives on the back of the head and just say, no, give Goddard the rest of the money he needs now to finish this movie properly, please. And it was panic, because we know that the toy sales dipped sharply in the middle of the production of the movie. Toy sales dropped, and of course Mattel panicked and all the rest of this stuff. So, well, it's one of those interesting. It's just an interesting story, the nature of a movie. But I do have a certain fondness for it. All I will say is that for me, it's not crap enough to be it's a cult classic now, but I've said this before. It's, the way, like, I much prefer the movie Hercules with Lou Ferrigno. That to me is more my He-Man movie than the actual 87 Master Universe movie. I just love the Lou Ferrigno Hercules movie. And in a lot of ways, I would have preferred that He-Man would have gone that cheaper route. And if it was going to go on a cheap route, I would have preferred to gone down a proper cheap route, rather than a kind of half expensive, half cheap route that we got. If you know what I'm saying, it's either, the Master Universe movies, it's neither here nor there. It's neither bad enough to be awfully fun, and it's not good enough to be considered good. It's kind of somewhere in this middle, because it's kind of a half-baked movie kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm sure some folks might disagree with that.
Yes, I'm agree for that. Also, I think that something that didn't work really well in that movie, in my opinion, is the music, because the musics of the soundtrack of that movie remember too much in the same time Superman movie and also Star Wars. For example,
it's exactly what the soundtrack is, isn't it? It's a cross between, we want something like Superman and Star Wars. Well, there you go. I actually think all the other incidental music for Master Universe is very good. Skeletor's March music, brilliant. All that stuff is brilliant, and it does have Star Warsy vibes to it, which is no bad thing. But what I love with the Master Universe movie score is the synth bits in it. Anything to do with the cosmic key, that shit is dope. Those sounds, the sound design in Masters of the Universe. What I do love about what Gary Goodard did, what he did have left to use, he used it very well. He turned the effects up till 9. He turned the music up till 9. He turned the explosions up till 9. And it is a fascinating movie to watch, I think, in terms of like that.
I think that the idea. The idea of the cosmic key is a cool idea, because also in reality the music has some kind of power with the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, exactly. So that idea is really cool, in my opinion.
How 80s is it to have a synthesizer as a plot point? It doesn't get more 80s than that, really, does it? If you're going to watch 80s movie, you need to watch Master Universe, because a synthesizer is a plot point.
And today we have different version of MOTU. actually right now. So what is your favorite of the new MOTU that we have since 1 year ago in different versions? What is your favorite now?
In terms of toys, or are we talking entertainment or toys?
I once the question for both sides, maybe before the toys and then the character, the story, the show.
I mean, I'm down with the revelation. You know, I'm cool with the revelation. I don't think it's perfect. I think there's one or two things they might have should have done slightly differently in terms of timing and all the rest of that stuff. But I'm a big fan of Revelation, and I loved the fact that it was a continuation of Filmation. It's a continuation, idiots. Look at Orko's bedroom. Is it all? We said, I believe I said this in the last podcast, the last recording. For me, I have to say, I loved the 2002 cartoon. I thought that was phenomenal. I think it still remains today some of the finest 2D animation made out there. The Power of Grayskull episode, The Courage of Adam, Snake Pit. Oh, all those episodes, especially Snake Pit. You know, I just love it. I love He-Man flipping around. Love He-Man twirling his sword and doing all the cool stuff. Love the voice acting. I love the thingies and stuff. I just love it. So for me, probably 2002 cartoon was probably, in my opinion, the best interpretation we've had of He-Man and the Master Universe. Look, for me, nothing will ever evoke the same feelings as the old Alfredo Alcala mini comics. You know, the old I've done here, you know, not the first ones, but like these ones, the ones that kind of came later. Which ones were they? Like the Masks of Doom and stuff like that. Yeah, there you go. Like the Masks of Doom and the Dragon's Gift and these stories. These are my Masters of the Universe. You know, I go back and I look at these even now, and you know, my head is just blown away by them. It just they evoke. Oh, I'm trying to get the cameras in half there. They evoke so much feeling in me for the brand that is totally unique. So when I look at like the Massive Power or any of these, you know, it's a Siege of Avion. I mean, come on, look at this! I mean, look at this crazy. How gnarly is that monster? Haramesh. I mean, that is a gnarly ass, evil looking, funky ass monster. You know, he's a bit like, you know.
That is a book with all mini comics together.
Yes, you have to get
wow,
this.
but it's possible to find it? Is on sale somewhere?
On Amazon, boys and girls, the mini comic collection. Yeah, it's been put together. Danielle Galerter is involved in this. There's loads of people involved in this. Val Staples. There's loads of people involved in it. Val Staples, Leanne Hanna, Rod Hanna, John Callis, Rachel's in there. And again,
I had John Callis was in my show, in my second episode of this show. So in 2020.
Yeah,
nice guy.
Yeah. This is the bomb. This is you basically for any Masters of the Universe artist. This is your survival guide, right? This is my part one of my survival guide.
I need that one because
part two of the survival guide. So any Masters
cool.
artist, you need that. But then you need that. Yeah, because this is a great book because literally it breaks down all the muscles and you know exactly because Master Universe figures, man, they're challenging to do and you have to have all the. Oh God, if you're. I've had nervous breakdowns trying to draw Master Universe characters.
How difficult is create an artwork with a perfect anatomy of the character?
Yeah, it's hard, and anybody who's any kind of draftsman will be able to show you. Yeah, even struggles with anatomy, and I do. You know, a lot of us do, but I do especially, and it's like really hard. That's why I have to study anatomy books. So if I have to have my pose. I have a pose in my head. I want to get it down, and even if it's an anatomical nightmare, I will still keep going and get it right until it looks right. And sometimes I'll spend too long on a project, but yeah, because these characters, you know, they're all ripped, you know, they're all flipping massive dudes, you know, they're massive, ripped, muscular dudes, and every muscle is showing, you know. And considering the history of the artists, like Alfredo Alcala and William George and all these guys who drew the characters with big muscles, you want to keep that going, but that's the problem. Every muscle in a Master Universe figure shows, and as a result, you have to draw every muscle showing. So It's hard, but that's why you refer to these kinds of things as well.
Another
Go on.
question by a fan. For the box art, do you get to decide on Easter eggs, your own creature, character, etc.? For example, Birch, give us the Cool Beast woman or New Eternia box.
Yeah, there you
Those are
go. Right. Well, you see, Nathan Birch, he's up the game now by doing that. I'm currently on another box for another character. And now that Nate's got him done that, I guess I have to now do it as well, right? I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do that. It's hard enough doing what I do as it is. But I guess Nate has thrown down the gauntlet and put these extra characters in. I'm like, oh, crikey, I better do it now then. So I'm literally working on another character, and I will put some other characters in there if I have time. Honestly, it's a lot of the time. Nate is a better artist than I am in a lot of ways. He's able to make decisions quicker and stuff like that, and he's able to get these other kinds of characters down in there quickly. Whereas me, I'd be like, I'd take a couple of days just doing that one thing. But no, I do try to stuff like for the Revelation stuff. You will see me in Origins soon enough as well. But for Revelation, specifically Masters of the Universe Revelation, I wanted to keep there's a certain style. Myself and Roy Juarez, which is the guy from the packaging head, lead of packaging at Mattel. We came up with the concept of making it clean, making it classy, really showcasing the characters of the world of Masters of the Universe, and that's why we had an action pose on the back and more of a kind of a stoic striker pose on the side. And I just decided, sticking little random characters in the background, that's an Origins thing. I said for Revelations, we're just going to stick to the kind of the format of Revelations and do that. I am now doing more Masters of the Universe stuff. I won't specify which line. You can kind of take a guess which it's going to be. It's not Origins. It is part of Masterverse. I'm doing another bunch of Masterverse, and I'm dropping one or two nuggets in there. But I will. I guess I have to now, don't I, Alan? Don't I really? If I'm doing another character, that's kind of along the lines. Yeah, if I'm doing another character and Nathan Birch has put random characters in the background, I guess I better have to do that now. Thanks, Nate.
And by the way, Nate was 5 times my show. A nice guy.
Yeah, good lad, amazing artist and stuff like that. So yeah,
now I have a general consideration about the art and the artist because, for example, myself, I'm a writer, musician, YouTuber, and I discover when the art become your job, the art take over your life because sometimes I work 12 hours by day. So I forget sometimes the real life because you have too many stuff to do every day. And also because the art take over of you. Sometimes you can't stop yourself because you won't finish something that you work. Is the same for you?
Ali, is it the same for me? She says yes. Yes, it is. It's very hard to say no to a Masters of the Universe job. I have lots of other jobs. As anyone who follows me on Instagram, I design a lot of action figures for Mezco, Diamond, work with Mondo on occasion, and Haya Toys in China. I do a lot of other work. But I cannot say no to getting He-Man work. I literally cannot say no to it. And unfortunately, it's a job on top of other jobs, and it's very intensive. So the Master Universe work is very. It's like I was talking about the anatomy and all the rest. It's intensive work. You get about mountains, skies, critters, and everything in the background. It's a full on. It takes a good 4 days, 3 to 4 days to do one Master Universe piece. And I believe it's kind of. I don't know how many days it's been, but I can imagine it's about the same. Maybe a little bit less for Nate. I don't know what it is for Axel and Francesco. I don't know how long it takes them to, but I would imagine I'm the slowest. But it's just so much hard work. You never want to say no to it. So yeah, I've had weddings, I've had funeral, I've had the COVID, literally in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and the Master Universe work still has to be done, and it has gotten away of social life. I still haven't seen Top Gun yet. So it is kind of getting in the way, but you never want to say no. Like my happy place is I'd paint He-Man all day if I could. You know, it is my happy place and stuff like that. But, you know, one runs a business and one has to be careful with the time and handling clients and all this kind of stuff and things like that. But yeah, it is a bit consuming. And right now, if you can tell by the bags under my eyes, yeah, I am being very much consumed by Massimer's artwork yet. And I'm just over halfway through my current workload. I still have 3.5 pieces left to do. So 2 more characters. I've just done 2. I've got 2 more characters to do, but each character has got 2 separate illustrations. And each illustration is about 3 days to do, so do the math. And then you've got your own clients who want your this figure and that figure design and all the rest. This is us folks who I design Lord of the Rings and Avatar, the Last Airbender action figures, and trying to fit those in and around these things it's very hard. But you know, I am not going to complain now, mind you. This is the best work I've ever had in my entire life as a career as an artist. I'm eternally, pun intended, grateful for the work. But yeah, it is a little hard sometimes, and it can be a little bit all-consuming, I have to say. So yeah, I totally relate to you. And writers, you writers will like lock yourselves into a mode for like a 6-hour stint and not realize it's 4 a.m. in the morning. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So that's what writers do. And then you smoke like troopers as well, I understand, or drink wine, whichever the case may be. Me, on the other hand, I don't do either of those things. I might smoke something else just to keep me kind of like chill and relaxed. But yeah, it's, you know, work can be all consuming, but when you've got a partner relationship and life gets in the way, like weddings and funerals, you know, you kind of have to look, it's you just have to say, no, this is life. I've got to do the life stuff. That is work stuff. Even if it's awesome work, you do have to say, no, I've got to go to this wedding. It's my best friend. He'd be angry if I don't. And this, you know, so there you go.
I understand also this type of problem because, for example, my girlfriend became upset because he find me very busy to do every stuff that I did, because as a writer, as a YouTuber, you have 2 channels, so really busy. And you have other project, so it's really a busy life. But speaking of busy project and something similar, do you have this last question, by the way, do you have your own project to create your own line of action figure?
Well, I have, hold on. Yeah, I do.
Cool.
Yeah, basically, I'm not going to go into it much yet. There's a Facebook page. I have not updated it in ages. But for anyone who's interested, I've done an entire, where's the camera? There you go. Big splash pages, big thingies.
So it's like it's a comic, this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there you go. So you can see.
Cool. And this one is on sale. It's possible to find somewhere.
No, I have a few copies. If anyone really asks me and this really flatters me, I might send them one. I've got a big stack of them here. I got these printed for San Diego Comic-Con in 2017, and I didn't even actually give them up because I was told by film executives to not actually share out the story just yet. So basically, it's my movie pitch. But I am also making action figures. Well, one day I will make action figures based on this, and I have just imagine mankind has been around for 65,000 years, all right? Man left the Rift Valley in Africa 65,000 years ago, and yet we only have 6,000 years of recorded human history, and at that it's patchy. What happened to humanity for the other 65,000 years? Well, that's what this story is kind of about. It's kind of delving into that kind of material. So basically, I can go to crazy mad histories and stuff like that and do a lot of cool characters and things like that. I do have some figures of my own that they're not entirely my own, they're part of another line. I have done a bunch of figures for X-Ray Studios in China. They do kind of gladiatorial figures and sort of pseudo-historical figures. So they've done like gladiators and Roman legionaries and Roman commanders and stuff like that. Loads of really cool gladiator figures. Well, I've just done a bunch for them, and they're entirely my own unique design, but it's for another line. This is probably the only thing I'm doing another line for someone else. That's kind of a slightly retro line that I won't go into too much because it's very early days yet. But this is my own fully solo project. This is my own solo project, and you have to have the story nailed on before you start pitching anything as a writer. You've got to have your 13-page synopsis, your 4-page synopsis, your 1-page synopsis, and your paragraph synopsis. And I'm still nailing down the full, 3-act structure at the moment. It's almost nailed down, but I before I nail it down, I have to nail it down before I can really start promoting it. Because there's no point in going to a movie studio or any company for that matter to make video games or whatever, anything like that. He says everybody wants to make video games and think they can make a movie. It's never going to happen for me because I'm no one, but I'm gonna fucking try. That's that. The gatekeeper.
Cool. So finger crossed for that project.
Fingers crossed. It's been 10 years in the making now already, kind of thing. But I'm in no rush. Right now, the masters work and my action figure work for Diamond Select and things of this nature. They take precedence right now. They take their.
By the way, speaking of Diamond Select, Zach was 3 times on my show. Another super cool guy.
You have got. I've literally just juggled another. I did another Diamond Select figure literally yesterday. I did one very, very famous figure yesterday, and I will. I'm very excited for that. And there's a bunch of stuff coming out that will hopefully be shown in San Diego Comic-Con as well. As folks know, there's an Apocalypse figure, big Apocalypse figure that I did. There's Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff coming that I've worked on that I'm really excited about, kind of thing. I'm a bit of a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. But yeah, there's lots of other stuff and more figures from other lines that I've worked on. I won't say what, but yeah, just there's loads more. And I've also just started working with Hiya Toys as well, and I'm currently redesigning. And it's hard work. Currently redesigning an entire line of a very big 80s brand, not He-Man. Think of one of the other 80s brands, and I'm currently designing that. It's very hard work, but it's. I can't say no, Alan. I can't say no. If it's good work and it's cool work, how could you say no to designing a RoboCop box or doing something for whatever? You can't say no.
I think it's natural that you can say no, because an artist can say no to his art. Because when an artist is able to do with his talent, his art, his job is a lucky man. So obviously you can say no.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and this is why I know what it's like to have, it's for a lot of freelancers, it's feast or famine. Right now, it's been feasting for the last 2 years. Since the start of COVID. Oddly enough, since the start of COVID, that's when my career took off. But yeah, I know what it's like, and also I know what it's like being uber broke and not having a clue when the next job is coming. So I know what it's like. So I'm extremely lucky that I can say no to certain jobs now. I'm extremely lucky. Come on, I mean, how many people want this job? Actually, there are a lot.
Yes, I understand.
I
understand very well this situation, because when every day you wake up and you need to do only something that you love, you are really lucky. So I understand really well.
To get up in the morning and to actually look forward to what you're doing and you get paid, it's all too rare. To be honest, it should be the natural human state. Every human should be waking up in the morning and say, right, what am I going to do today? I'm going to do that. Yes. That should be the way for every human, everywhere, ever. It's unfortunate that we live in a world that unfortunately doesn't actually allow everyone to have, the kind of work.
I think it's the formula. Is the formula to have a happy life. Live like that, in my opinion.
It is that formula, and it takes a lot to actually discover to get there. And I just wish the world was just a little easier on that front. And I just wish people would be, I would just like people to be more content and happy with this life, because we live in a world we're a slave to the money, then we die, and I don't want to live in that world. I want us to be a slave to our own desires, or slave to our own pursuits. Then we die. How about that?
Perfect. So now I go to the piano to say goodbye. Thanks for watching, my friends, and Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to follow Eamon O'Donoghue on his social media page to discover his awesome artwork. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Eamon. Oh, he killed me, tried to kill me with the sword. No, please.
Die, Magnetti! Die!
Take that. No one can stop me.
Oh, you got a nice. Joe, I've got that cup too. Hold on. I think everyone's got this cup now.
Oh, I like it.
I think the skull in your one looks better. The skull in your one's better. I got a cheapy one. Oh, look at that. You got a way nicer one. I got the knockoff, clearly. Bastards.
Also, Lenny of the G.I. Joe Hasbro team has this mug.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I discovered this mug after my interview in the G.I. Joe Hasbro team that I did a few months ago, and I saw Lenny with that during my interview, and he helped me to find another one because it's really cool to me, this one.
Yeah, but you got the good one. I mean, look at this. I got the shitty knockoff one, man. Look. Didn't even bother blacking in the eyes. Well, I just keep it for my pens anyway.
No,
Yeah,
I used to drink, actually.
Your one's very nice. Well, there you go. Thanks,
I
Alan.
like to drink the blood of someone in the head of someone. So thank you to all of you guys. With the power of Grayskull. Bye-bye, guys.